So this is like my dream to do a talk while listening to lo-fi. Anyway, hi everyone. Welcome to my talk. It's for small teams with big ideas. Just a first note, I've tried to add as much info as I can to the slides, but if people have hard of hearing or have like a visual impairment or just want to reread this talk, I'm gonna use this hashtag and post it up on another day, so you can go back and read everything at your leisure. I also have a hashtag, as I mentioned, on the left there, and then my name and my @ on Twitter at the right. So, in case you're like, who's that girl again? So welcome. My name is Brianna Fromont. I'm a queer artist from Wellington. My pronouns are she, they. I'm a Virgo. I'm a plant mother. I'm a game dev artist, and I am a freelance illustrator. So I do stuff like this in my spare time. And if you're from Wellington, I'm glad you like that one. On the right, if you're from Wellington, maybe you can recognize that cat. Yeah, it's Mittens. Yeah, I'm obsessed with him. There we go. So this is essentially my CV, I suppose, but the gist is I have 4 years of experience in game dev. I have 3 games producers under my belt, as Jess already mentioned, and I currently work at Starcold. That's me on the right. Yeah, I know who I am. So, what is this talk about? This talk is about how to work in a small team as a solo artist. It's a first-hand experience I gained from a game called Best Friend Forever, which I went through the entire process by myself with assistance from the team. Can we go next? Here we go. So, who is this for? Producers, maybe you want to know data, like a full timeline of what one artist could do with my experience. Maybe you want to understand the process of an artist a bit better. Maybe you just want to see the timeline. This is for artists. Maybe you're a student in a small team. Maybe you're an artist just starting out an indie team. You don't really know what to do from there. Maybe you just want to streamline your process. Or maybe you just want to know how this game was made. I didn't expect or you don't even know what that is, which is fair. Best Friend Forever is a game about people who love dogs, who love people who love dogs who love people. It's 50% a visual romance novel and 50% dog care simulator. This is kind of my favorite slide, not gonna lie. So, you adopt a dog, you care for the dog, you lull people into a false sense of security, and then you acquire a boyfriend. Which means all this had to be done, which is about 500 sprites-ish. Not all shown on screen, because it's kind of a lot. So the breakdown for this talk, I am going to start with where to start, and then we go and dive into the project itself. So, where are we going from here? Get honest with you and your team. What kind of experience do you have so far? What are the holes in your knowledge? What can your team help you with? Do you need a mentor? Do you have experience with the engine, et cetera, et cetera? Just be honest, and it's better that they know what you're getting into. So this is what my position is on paper. This is what I actually do. It's a lot of stuff. This project, it was based on certain advantages and disadvantages we could never predict. Luckily for me, I had coworkers who had artistic experience, so I could get feedback. They could help me out with parts of the process. I'm very well experienced in illustration. I did illustration way before I got into games. I had artistic liberty for the entire project, which is great, but also not great because I have to make all the decisions. I got 4 years of experience, as mentioned before, with various engines and programs. And I'm a very fast learner. There's some things I had to learn during this project that I just had to learn on the fly. I just had to, Some disadvantages we had, there were international events we had to attend, so there was lots of assets that needed to be made, there was demos, there was time that we had to put in to go there. There was QA, which a lot of the team had to help out with during development. There were development issues, so we had to extend the deadline, and there was also a pandemic. I don't know if you've heard of it, but we had to release a game during that time. Not fun. So this is the timeline in the end. Some important notes. February 2019, we started the project. The announcement in Nintendo Indie World, August 23rd, 2019. End of production, 29th of May 2020, and then the final release date, which was August 2020. So what did this process actually look like if you broke it down? We start with pre-production. So when starting, you're going to need material to pitch. You're going to need a foundation for where you're going with this. Mood boards are a really good way to start. I use Pinterest just to get an idea. Like, I wouldn't keep working on it throughout the whole thing. Just keep it there as like a reminder. You can share ideas with your teammates. They can add things. You can discuss stuff. A big part of our mood board was fashion, because I really love fashion, as you can see. Kind of dressed up for the occasion. There was also a lot of characters to draw, 24 characters to do. There was a storyline based in a colorful city. We knew there wasn't going to be any fantastical elements, so it's going to be very urban, and yeah, I love fashion. So, something I really wanted to do was represent fashion in all kinds of bodies and all kinds of people, which leads me to research. If I wanted to represent these certain kinds of people, I couldn't go in uneducated. So there's some stuff you got to consider. What is your audience? What are your influences? Where are they coming from? Real-world influences, media references. What are the colors you're going to use? What are the emotions you're going to use? What are the meanings? Things that you want to embody during your work. And during this research, at the time I noticed there were a lot of dating sims that showed a certain attractiveness, a certain body type, a certain cutesy prettiness. And there were always socially acceptable bodies on display. And I wanted to show that there was more than just one kind of attractiveness. So what is that going to look like? What are these bodies going to look like? How am I going to show them appropriately to what I think is beautiful, and share a lot of other bodies that I think are beautiful? Here's just a simple example of what an athletic body can look like. And it's a good thing to consider too when you want to reach a certain kind of audience. For me personally, I got a big body, I'm a fat lady, and I want to represent that as something beautiful, something to be wanted. And it doesn't stop there. What about ethnicity? Pale skin isn't the only thing that's out there. Here's photography by Angelica Des. It's a project that's a great example of this. Like, look at all those colors. Look at it. They're beautiful people. I love this section. There's like way more photos apart from this, by the way. There's a link there I would really recommend looking at for reference. There's also Cedar Art's chart that shows how different facial features look, depending on where you come from, all around the world. And I looked at this a lot just to make sure everyone looked different, So you've done your research. You have to start drawing at some point. I remember when I started this project, I was terrified. I was really overwhelmed. This is the first time being a solo artist. I just wanted to show I was really good at drawing, but honestly, you just need to do it. You can't make these perfect, pretty pictures. I guess because I was an illustrator and I didn't really know much about concept art at the time. Sometimes it'll be a first time drawing something. For me, this is the first time I drew a full background. It took hours, and this isn't ideal for your production. So you just gotta do it. You gotta figure out how you're gonna do it. This is the first time I did characters for BFF, and this is how they turned out. Everything can change. Everything can look different. There's also logos to do. When you're in pre-production, you want to get a logo out so you can announce the game. To be honest, I did not really study graphic design, but it's also kind of required. So here's some things to include. A silhouette version, a black and white version, an icon by itself and text by itself, and everything needs to be converted into a vector for multi-purpose use. So this is how the logo kind of started out, just silhouettes, text, fonts, all that fun stuff. Eventually, you get sick of looking at it. You just gotta push on, add some color, put everything together, get opinions. Eventually, you have to clean up and just move on, which is what I did. So this is how the final logo for BFF looked. So you've gathered a bunch of data, you've researched, you got your logo. Now you need an image. You need a key image that you can look back on during development that you can refer to and show on social media posts. This is what I created. Basically, I made sure to include dogs, include like a rural town, you can see like a city in the background. Is the main character. It's all like pastel and fun. And this is what we referenced back to throughout the whole development. So, pre-production's all done. Now you just gotta go and do all your assets. For us, this is a lot. This is just a dialogue scene example. This is the main menu. There's dog quality time where you train your dog. There's little animations and QC stuff. There's dog care time where you feed the dog, wash the dog, all that kind of stuff. So there ended up being a lot to do. It's just an example of how much I ended up doing, which was characters, dogs, backgrounds. I would also like to add that our studio director, Lucy, did the UI, so she took that burden off my hands. So, characters first. Generally, when I set out the design, I just do a bunch of sketches, a bunch of shapes. I get like writer's feedback, I get write-ups of the character from the team. I then add color, start refining it, start getting poses. For this character, Robin, we actually changed the final version a lot, just because it didn't really suit her lifestyle. She's a gamer, a nurse, she has a family. We needed something a bit more comfortable to her sort of walk around in. So it's a good thing to consider when you do characters, that what you like may not be the final sprite, because it has to suit the character too and their personality. So with this process, I was able to complete 42 different character designs. We also created blink animations for most of the major characters and expressions for reactions to dialogue. And you know what else this character needs in a dog game is dogs. I did 15 different dog sprites, which seems kind of straightforward, but there was more. There was the dog quality time. We needed backgrounds, we needed little 2-frame animations for each dog, player dogs. There's 4 different player dogs. You do the math, it's a lot. And there's also the player dog on screen, which you could interact with, you could feed during dialogue. And we had to figure out a way to do this that would suit the style, because a 3D dog isn't going to look quite good with a flat style that we had. So I used a program called Life2d Cubism. I'd never used it at the time, before it blew up, and maybe some of you know what this is. But before that, there was only this tutorial that I could look at. It was a nightmare. I didn't like it. It was a series that helped me set up, but as you can see, that is not a dog. It's a human. So it took me a long time to figure out how to convert that into this. I had a lot of messing around, a lot of tests. I ended up breaking down this illustration of a dog called Cheeseball into different layers, and then using their software we could deform parts of the dog to make it look like it was looking around and doing stuff, which turned out something like this, which thankfully worked, and then we used the same rig for 3 other types of dogs. And where are you going to put all of these characters and dogs? They can't be floating around in the void. It's not going to look good. So we have to fill this world with environments. There was a big unknown for me because, as I mentioned before, I'd never done full backgrounds. I don't know what I was doing. We had to figure something out, and we had to figure out how it was going to fit into our timeline. So at first, I created this sort of image. I do a mock-up in a software called Maya. I would paint over it, but it took numerous hours to do every bit of the building, every part of, the windowsill, flags, and that, and color and everything. So this is what I came up with. I'd still make these scenes, which Cal, our creative producer, helped me with in the end. Thank you, Cal, because we had a lot of backgrounds to go through. But we'd make the scene, and then I would break it up into different layers, different renders, and then I would add them together. And then I would add lighting on top, and then bing, bang, boom, chuck that into Photoshop, give it some colors. Beautiful. Takes me way less time, which was great. So luckily with that technique, that allowed us to do all of these backgrounds, which was really exciting because it turned out to be really fun. I also made sure that they suited the characters we made and the dogs we made, that they weren't kind of clashing with each other. I know that some people might think this method is cheating because I brought it straight out of a 3D program and painted over it, but I think it's important to remember that if it works for you, just do it, you've only got a certain amount of time to do something. If you come up with a solution, just run with it. And I'm actually really proud of how they turned out, which is really cool. So, final section. And this is something that really sneaks up on you, and this after production is complete. We had a lot of things to do beyond release. We had updates, certain content updates for Halloween and Christmas. We had merch that we did, which when you're going to events is a really good passive income when you work on them. Luckily, we got to collaborate with a company called World Studio, which helped us create all this merch, which is really cool, with the help of our creative producer, Cal, and the co-founder of World Studio, Rowan. We launched a store so people could get all that tasty merch. I also had social media posts, which Cal also helped me with a bit. But, mobile backgrounds, there was a countdown, there's fun little doodles we did to increase community outreach. That's, I think it's called Ultimate Knockout, right? Fortnite? Fall Guys. Alright, I play games. Anyway, so we made this cutesy little dog kid. Isn't it cute? It should be in the game, just saying. We also made album covers, and neat little illustrations to follow our content updates. And finally, something that I'm really proud of, this was the release banner art that I did. This was going to be on trailers, it was going to be in posts, it was going to be in articles. It had to stand out, and it was something I worked on for quite a bit, but was sort of my final big hurrah to this project. It was a great final touch of the game, and I think it's really cute. So that's it. Thanks. Sorry if I rushed a little bit. It's a little intimidating. If you have any questions, use the hashtag. I'm not going to do a Q&A just because I find Q&A is a little overwhelming. So if you think of something later, I will totally answer it. Again, I will post up the slides, so if people want to see them, they can. And thanks for listening. Thank you.